All right, I'm here with my new buddy, Ollie, who barked at me for like the first 2 hours we were here in the session. This is his roadmap to success. I've had a lot of dogs that act like him, and the technique that I use has never worked the way it has for Ollie, so he is one in a million. So the Guardians have a good technique that works. He settles down a lot faster. What I'd have them do is continue doing their technique as opposed to my technique, but I would like them to rep it a lot. So I'd like to try and go through your Rolodex of your phone, people you haven't seen in a while. Yeah, we haven't seen you in a long time. You know, we had a guy come over and said our dog needs to practice, be around new males, mostly males, right? And so find some males that can come by, but make sure they're people who will listen to you. Down. A lot of people are like, but I'm really good with dogs, and why'd your dog bite me? Well, because I asked you not to pet my dog, and you did whatever you wanted to do. Don't invite that person. Get somebody who's going to actually listen to you. So do what you're doing inside, and then get some treats, and give the person a little treat pouch like that. So Frogger, we would call that. Yeah. And so that way the person giving treats. Now the person when they're giving treats should try to hold it off to the side. That's why I got you here, because I want to keep you in the shots. That's why we have the leash. Sit. Off to the side is easier. Front facing is confrontational for dogs. But don't do it when he's aggressive or reacting. I think part of it, he blusters and acts aggressive to get attention. I think he's learned to work his family a little bit. And so the aggression should play a little bit of hard to get. And remember, don't look at him, don't chastise him, well, I guess you guys do what you were doing normally when he comes over. Normally I say don't engage with the dog at all, because that's validating for the dog. Now something else we could do is, yes, buddy, is actually have the guest take him for a walk. Dogs process things by literally moving forward. So come on, buddy, you got to just hang out there. So if maybe the guest comes over, if it's somebody that's amicable, we have him on a leash. The guest comes over, once he gets settled down, he's on the leash when he's running around. And then basically when the guest just takes him just the end of the block and back, turn around. That seems to have made a big difference. After I got back from the walk, he's been a lot calmer. And so that just helps cement it in. Now, something else I'd like the Guardians to do is teach him how to catch. That way, when we have a guest and somebody that can't walk him or doesn't want to walk him, or you don't want to ask that person to, we want him to be able to engage with the guest in a positive way. So what we do is teach him how to catch. Now, down. So the way I do that, a lot of us when we play catch for the dog, we go 1, 2, and then we throw it on 3, and the dog's looking for it and it hits their head. So just go and throw it on the first toss, and try to throw it such a good toss that it goes straight to his mouth. He doesn't even have to open it. All he has to do is open his mouth and it goes in there. And say catch every time it goes in, or come up with a different word that means to catch. Funny words whenever possible. And then have somebody sitting like right here next to him. So if the person throws it, it hits his head and he gets it off the ground, well, then he has no motivation to snatch it out of the air. So if it hits his head and bounces here, then the person's here would pick it up and either hold it or give it back to the thrower. So the only way the dog can get it is by snatching it out of the air. After a while, he'll start snatching it, and then you can have guests come over, and the guests can actually just go over and play a little game of fetch with him, and Ollie can have whatever distance he feels is appropriate so that he doesn't feel fearful. Ollie's very fearful about new people. He had a lot of cortisol in his blood. I could tell because he was just really twitchy. Anytime he made a sound, he would freak out. And like that touch would probably cause him to jump. Probably would have struck at my hand if he did that. So remember, when your guests come over, that I'm not going to pet, because that's a quick flip. That would be rewarding submission. Now for you guys, when he's just relaxed and rolls over, or he's sleeping like that, that's okay. But for a guest, we don't want to reward or amplify that. I know, you demand barking a little bit is what he does, and I think I don't think we're talking after we filmed the video above. The Guardians we're thinking maybe he does not have a resource guarding problem. He just has I want to get attention problem, and it could be a resource guarding combined with I want attention. So those things could certainly be the case. But I would still use that same approach for the resource guarding. But we want to make sure that he doesn't have access to whatever the things are. But if he does that, if he has stuff like that one, and we maybe have bought a replacement for the daughter, and he gets that one, as soon as he starts barking, we come down and he sees he's doing this, we leave and we go downstairs. We close the door behind us so he can't come, or put the baby gate up so he can't come, and sit at the bottom of the stairs so he can see you through the little baby gate mesh. He's like, oh, they're having a great time without me. Why am I not there? Well, because when you do this, if you're trying to get our attention, any attention, remember, for dogs is validating. So if actually when I do this resource guarding, not only does it not give me attention, it causes my humans to leave the area. That's the opposite answer of what we're looking for. Come here, buddy. Yes, you're demanding. And this is basically petulance. He really had no rules. He got some exercise, but he was definitely under-exercised for his breed. And then he was able to tell the Guardians when to pet him on command. And so you combine that with a dog that's nervous, about meeting new people because he wasn't socialized a ton as a puppy around a lot of men, I'm guessing. Yes, damn. He can be very loving and lovable dog, but those behaviors we certainly don't want, and the guardians just didn't know how to unenforce them. I don't know if that's a word. It's a new one now. So basically, to help flip the leader-follower dynamic, I showed the guardians how they can incorporate some rules. I went over the escalating consequences I like to go over to enforce rules, as well as how to add structure to petting. Now, some of the rule highlights I'll go over: not being allowed to sit on the furniture, get those X mats, the letter X and MATS, get one for each cushion. Now, there's two little bay windows where there's a little platform, and Ollie likes to sit up there and look outside in the front yard and yell at people coming by or bark at them. Do the same thing in the backyard. And that can actually confuse him into thinking that he's a security dog, but because his guardians don't listen to him, that stresses him out, and that helps him get the cortisol in his blood, which makes him less, going to get him more problems, more trouble. So we want to take away his ability to do the practice at being the guard dog. So, now you're going to climb up on top of me, huh, buddy? Yes. There we go. Climbing on top of you is kind of an indication of not fully respecting his authority figure, and because he is nipper, that was a little bit of a challenge. I didn't want to allow that and have his face right here. So if you have a guess he's doing that thing, don't put him in a position where he can make a mistake. For the maintenance, what I like the guardians to do is go to Kinko's, get a 3-foot sheet of paper, like about 12 feet long, and just cut sections and put it in the doors that go to the lead out in the backyard. Put in the bay windows over there. Put in the bay windows in the front. So it's just the lower part of the window. The humans, we could still see over the paper. The dog can't. So now every time I go to the window, I can't see out, and I don't practice or get validated or rewarded. Sit. Sit. That's petting with a purpose. For going over there and barking. Now the guardians can also get a little tinfoil and cover that shelf with tinfoil. Dogs usually will not walk on tinfoil, so that prevents him. Hey, buddy. I think we're buddies now. But that'll prevent him from trying to go up there on his own. And the X mats will keep him from getting on the couch. Now, I went over how to teach him how to go here. Whenever we take away the furniture, I always want to give the dog a place to go, so we call this Hogwarts. I showed the guardians how to create an incentive for him to want to go over here, and it worked really quickly. I would do the same thing maybe with the bed in your the dog bed in your room if you wanted to teach him to go there. Now, the guardians let him sleep with them in the bed. If you want to continue doing that, what I would do is make that an invitation only. So you guys put your PJs on or whatever you do, you get in bed, and when you get situated and you fluff the covers and you've read and you're ready to go to bed, or in position, then you invite him and you tell him where you want him to go. This is your bed. You're just being generous and sharing it with him. This is your couch, and it's not for the dog initially because the dog's behavior is not what we want. And eventually the dog offers behavior we like. Then we're going to, where are you going, buddy? Then we're going to allow him to be on the furniture with an invitation at the human's discretion, sit or down. Okay. So other rules would be that he should not be within 7 feet of any humans who are eating. So if we're eating the couch, we make maybe the dotted line, the square in front of the couch. He's not allowed to go there. Kids are eating snacks at the work island. He shouldn't be allowed in there. Shouldn't be allowed in the kitchen where we're preparing food. I would say he's not allowed to be on the tile in the kitchen where we're preparing food. The rest of the time he can go and go as he pleases. Now the way that I do that is I actually do a dry run or a practice rehearsal. Or rehearsal, whatever you would call it. So I go in the kitchen if I'm going to cook. When I'm cooking, I'm distracted. I'm thinking about the ingredients and stirring and all the rest of that fun stuff. That's why I do the tripod. It makes it easier. And so when I'm thinking about all these other things, if the dog comes in, I'm not paying attention to the dog, and he can break that rule. And remember, you have 3 seconds to correct or reward your dog. So if he crosses the threshold, comes in, and you don't see him for 10 seconds, and then you try to correct him, he doesn't know why he's being corrected. So what we do is we microwave a piece of roast beef or bacon or Canadian bacon, put it on the counter, and then you simulate like you're cooking. You pretend to turn the stove on, grab stuff out of the fridge, bang some pots and pans around, but you're watching him out of the corner of your eye. As soon as he comes in, you rush towards him using that third escalating consequence. And once he gets across the line, you stop. So you might not have to walk all the way to the line. You might have to only take a couple steps before he moves away, but be sudden in your movement for that consequence. And once he actually sits or lies down outside the boundary, that's when I put the bacon away, or that's when I start the actual cooking. We can do the same principle for meals, microwave some bacon, and then have the kids eating there, and it smells like bacon, or smells like bacon, so the kids pretend like they're eating, and you can enforce that boundary. And once he sits or lies down, sit. Then we can feed the kid their actual meal. And after a while, he'll just sit behind the boundary on his own because he knows that that's the rule, that's what's expected. This is a demand. I want attention. I don't want to be here with this guy. I want to be over there. I want some treats. I want. But if he gets everything he wants, then he's going to continue this petulant behavior. Petulance, you're a spoiled dog essentially. And we're just bringing a little structure to it. So, thank you. All right, so other rules, having sit before you let him go out the door. Sit. If he doesn't sit within 3 seconds, walk away. Sit down. Make sure you sit. Wait 1 minute, then go back to the door and tell him again. This time to walk away for 2 minutes if he doesn't sit down, then for 4 minutes, then for 8 minutes. And as soon as you go to the door and you tell him to sit, open that door like there's remote control in his butt. We'd also like to exercise him. When he gets like this, you should interpret this as him being petulant, which he is. We should interpret this, he needs some exercise. So that's when we do the laser circuit that we talked about. Go to the top of the stairs and do the stair up downs, play fetch in the backyard or whatever it is. But the idea is he's probably saying, I just have too much excess energy. I need to get it out of here. And so, well, if we take him up and do 10 up downs on the stairs or whatever it is, then it shouldn't take longer than about 5-10 minutes maximum. And he's going to be wiped out. He's going to come to Hogwarts, hang out, and recharge his batteries. Start that exercise journal. Keep it for about a month. And write down the date at the top of a new page of paper, write down the time and how many up downs on the stairs, the time and how many lasers or fetches or walks or whatever it is, how long the walk was. And then if there's an incident like the resource guarding or whatever that is, or he barks at something or he is mischievous, write down the time and what happened and write a little bit about what happened. This way we have a journal, we can look back, and after we're like, you know what, every time is longer than 4 hours since we exercised Ollie, that's when he gets in trouble. Don't just beat him to the punch. Every 3 hours will help. I also went over my petting with a purpose and passive. Well, let's go on and talk about feeding. So for feeding, they're grazing and letting him graze. And they're also putting in wet food. So what I would do is just put dry food only until we fix the feeding issue. Ollie, sit. Sit. So I put food down, and then the human who's feeding him should eat something first in 5 or more bites. Chip, cracker, carrot. Doesn't have to be real food. When the human is done eating their whatever their snack is, they invite him over to eat his food, which is already waiting in the bowl before we take our snack. We're just not allowing him to get near it, using those escalating consequences to keep him at bay. Once we're done eating, we invite Ollie over to eat because dogs eat in the order of their rank. And once we're done eating, now it's Ollie's turn. Ollie comes over and Ollie's like, I don't feel like eating. As soon as he walks away, pick up the bowl, dump it empty, but put the empty bowl back on the floor. That's an important step that most people would miss. And then we don't feed him again until the next meal unless we're practicing Hogwarts or something else. Then the next meal, we do repeat the process. And as long as he's at the bowl, he has 2 minutes to stand there before it goes away. Or as soon as he walks away, we just dump the bowl and put the empty bowl back down. My parents' dog went and she did not eat until breakfast the 4th day. If it goes longer than 3 days, message me. But who blinks first in this one is going to lose. And so if you have dominion over the food, and this is something you feed him every day anyways, well, then he's going to basically eventually start acquiescing and sitting down and waiting for you guys to eat. I have one dog, but if I forget to do it, I have 4 dogs. It's in the kitchen, and sometimes I feed 3 of them, I forget the 4th one on a phone call with the client. I go in the kitchen 2 hours later. He's sitting 4 feet away from 10 feet away from the bowl, hasn't eaten anything, waiting for permission to eat. Self-control is not a natural skill for dogs. We have to help them practice it through other alternative methods, like making them sit at the door and wait for permission to go out, or permission to come out the kennel, or permission to eat your food, or all the rest of these things. The more that we incorporate these structured things and he has to practice and demonstrate them, the better equipped he's going to be to deal with other things that he wants that he can't have immediately. Now, he seems to have a little bit of eye contact dominance with people he doesn't know. Ollie, yeah, buddy, yeah. That's a little bit long of a stare. Yeah, that's a good one. That was pretty good. Before, he would have barked at me. So I showed the Guardians a focus exercise. I have videos for that. Speaking of videos, I have videos for the focus, for the rules, for keeping away from invisible boundaries, to going to here, resource guarding, everything. So if you have any questions, yes, I'll give you a little belly rub for that because you've been good. If you have any questions, you don't know how to do these things, message me. I can share videos where you can go to my website and search for them, but it's probably easier for me on the back end to find it. Hogwarts, that's passive training. So let's talk about those two. Petting with a purpose, if he comes up and nudges at me or barks at me and I pet him, he's telling me what to do, and when I do it, then that validates to him that he's in charge. So instead, if he tells me what to do, Ollie, sit. Then I would pet him and say the word sit, or in this case, down, or whatever it is. So basically what I'm telling him is if you tell the humans what to do, from now on, nothing happens. But if the humans tell you what to do and you do it, you get a reward. That is more motivation for him to want to do that. Remember to use the word paycheck. If you suspect someone's petting without a purpose and that person has to stop petting, tell Ollie, sit. Then pet him under his chin whenever possible and say the word sit and exclusively the word sit. You can pet him anywhere you want, just never pat him on top of his head. Let me see, what else? So that's petting with a purpose. I say paycheck if I suspect somebody's forgotten to, and make sure if he does come and sit in front of you to prepay for attention, which he will, you do recognize and pet him for that. Now, the other side of that is what I call passive training. Passive training is what right there, you call that Bronco. Every time he rears up like that, pet him is called Bronco, and that can become a command. Every time he comes to you, pet him and say come. Every time that he drops something on his own accord, pet him and say drop. Every time he comes over here, say the word Hogwarts. If you don't have a treat, just say the word. If you can pet him or give him a treat, that's even better. But if every time he comes here, he hears the word Hogwarts, that's going to help him learn this. Go here means, when I hear Hogwarts, means I'm going to get a reward. Now for this, remember, at first we throw the treat to entice him to go here. If the kids do that, I would give him like 5 treats, have him tear in half, and just stand over there and throw it. He goes and gets it, says Hogwarts, let him leave, do it again. And do that 3 times a day for about 3 or 4 days, and you'll be able to say Hogwarts, and he'll come over here, and he'll start hanging out over here. Get a dog bed. I like to get them on Groupon. I like the one that says Sealy Posturepedic or memory, or the memory foam. They're not actually Sealy Posturepedic memory foam. It's just the manufacturer. It's just foam. But make sure it doesn't have, like, it's not a duvet cover, because like this, there could be a treat right here. He wouldn't see it because of this little roll. And so get one that's just like a cushion without a back or sides. No pattern. Make sure it's light gray, light cream, or white. That way you can leave a treat here when he's in the other room and he comes, damn, there's another treat there. I'm going to go back to Hogwarts because every time I go there, there's treats there. Now for passive training, I didn't finish what I thought on passive training. It's just waiting for him to do the organically on his own things we like. So every time he comes to you, because the guardians have snatched him because he just doesn't come. Well, every time they snatch him, they tell him, yeah, it's right not to trust us because we're going to try to fool you. So, and most of the time when we ask him to come, it's because we're putting him on the collar or putting him inside. It's the end, it represents the end of fun. So now, every time he comes to anybody in the house, we pet him and say come, because that's part of passive training. Even if he wasn't coming, he was just passing by, to pet him and say come as he walks by. So now, like 100 times a day, I go to the humans and I hear the word, and they pet me and I hear the word come. Once a day, they tell me to come and we put the collar on or the leash and we go do something I don't want to do. Well, it's only 1 out of 100. That's a pretty good ratio. So you would need to practice getting your dog to come to you over and over again. Now, the more we snatch him, the more we're going to make it worse. So for the backyard, I would maybe get a dirty leash that you can let him drag around. Now, it's dangerous for a dog to drag a leash around unsupervised, so somebody should be watching him. And don't chew it off, buddy. You can chew this one off pretty quickly because this is just a cheap one because it's just one layer. If you choose a lot, get a thick one. It's basically 2 sewn together. Down. Passive training. Yes, grumble. That's also could be something for passive training. So if he doesn't come to you very good on the outside, now we only have a little bit of time before the weather's going to get crappy. What I would do is go outside, put him on a leash, let him outside, go outside and have some high value of these Turkey Trainer chicken liver treats. Walk in the middle of your yard, pull a chair out with you and sit down and let him, and don't call him. Let him fart around, do whatever he wants. Bronco. Passive training. As soon as he comes over to you, hold the treat off to your side, let him lick it off, and say the word, and then say the word come, and then let him go back to play. So let's say you walked in the middle of your yard before you sat down, and wait for him to come back to you about 3 or 4 more times before you call it, you end it and go back inside and do your thing, and leave him outside so he gets to play. Next time, grab the chair and only, maybe say you were 20 feet out in the yard, maybe next time we only go to 18 feet. Next time, 16 feet. And again, we're just waiting for the dog to organically come to us and petting him and say come, or give him that treat. So now we're taking away that baggage. We're not trying to snatch you. It doesn't represent the end of fun. Just coming to the human means you get a reward. And each time we're a little bit progressively closer and closer to the door, until eventually you just open the door, he comes to you, give him a treat and say come, and then he gets to go back and play. Or sometimes you tell him, you say come, and when he comes, then you throw the treat inside, and when you throw it in, say the command word that means to go in the house. Maybe say casa or house. Same thing with the furniture. Touch his nose with the treat, throw it on the ground. When he jumps off and gets it, then we said the word off. Let me see. Anything else I'm forgetting? You're going to sit on me, huh, buddy? Now, if you have any questions or things stop working, make sure you text me. If I don't hear from you, I assume that means everything's going great. I don't charge for phone calls or texts. I have people call me literally years after I've worked with them to help with other problems. But I think that if you incorporate rules and structure, that's going to get rid of a little bit of the petulance. If you invite a lot of men over that follow the instructions of what you're doing, then take him for a walk and play a little catch with him, and the men should eventually do the focus exercise. Eventually he's going to be like, man, when men come over, they're always packing these delicious treats. I get a walk. I get to play catch. I get more treats for focusing on them. We're just a cornucopia of just pleasant, fun, positive things that happen. After a while, I don't want the girls over here. I want more boys over here. All right. Well, Ollie, can you sit? sit. This is Ollie, and this is Ollie's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog.